Welcome to Warping Fist.
Oh my god, what does this guy want? Hello? Okay. The Batgirl movie. Actually, yeah, I think we should talk about that first. Thanks. Can I hang up now? What? You wanna come over to my house? I don't think that's a very good idea. What? You're in my house.
Sir, I really think we should focus on our bigger characters instead of making films about obscure properties that are guaranteed to flop.
The only thing that's gonna flop is your body when I throw you out of the window.
Oh my god!
After the failure of Justice League, Warner Brothers would attempt a huge course correction of the DCEU. They felt that their darker films had dug them into a deep grave, and they needed to create lighter films with more hope and optimism in order to save their dying universe. And with the success of Aquaman, this need to approach their films differently was set in stone. WB in this era would embrace more light-hearted films akin to the MCU, but this time they were more disconnected and experimental, as Warner had no set-in-stone plan for their universe. Development for a Batgirl movie began in 2017 when Joss Whedon was hired to direct. We have almost no info about the plot of the film, but what we do know is that it was inspired by Batgirl's first comic appearance. Luckily, Whedon would drop from the project, as he would claim that he could not come up with a suitable story for the film.
So, now that I directed Justice League, here are the ideas I have for a Batgirl movie.
Cool, but I think you should do some smaller projects for a bit before we commit to this.
Let me guess, you don't want me to make this film?
No, I just don't want to breathe the same air as you. You're wondering if I want you to make this movie. No, I'm actually wondering why your parents made you.
So, is that a yes or no?
However, Warner was still interested in continuing to develop a film for this character. This fact would be proven when Flash writer Christina Hudson was hired to write a new script for a Batgirl film. Bad Boys for Life directors, I can't pronounce their names, would be hired to helm the project, which was set to be released in 2023. Many characters in the film would be cast, including Leslie Grace as Batgirl, Michael Keaton as Batman, J.K. Simmons as Jim Gordon, Brendan Fraser as Firefly, and Jurnee Smollett as Black Canary. Now, unlike other cancelled DC projects, the Batgirl film is unique as it actually began filming. There was also many production photos giving us a glimpse at both Leslie Grace's Batsuits, like the prototype version, which was meant to heavily resemble the Burnside Batgirl costume. There was also the completed final suit, which looked a lot more refined and higher quality. Batgirl began filming in early 2021, and we were luckily presented with plenty of set videos and photos, giving us a glimpse at the style of the film, the potential story, and several action sequences. Based off the set videos, photos, and plot leaks, the story of this film can be pieced together. 1. The plot would follow Barbara Gordon taking up the mantle as Gotham's new hero after the disappearance of Batman. 2. Carmine Falcone would be featured as a secondary antagonist who Jim Gordon has to take down. 3. Firefly is the film's main antagonist, and the story sees him burning down several buildings in order to kill certain targets as revenge for something that occurred in his life. 3. Barbara develops a relationship with Alberto Falcone, who at this point in the story does not have a very good relationship with his father. And 4. Barbara would be trained by Black Canary at the request of Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, who at the end of the film would make her a new Batsuit and recruit her as Gotham's new Batman, likely leading to the Batman Beyond film. There's two reasons for why this film never released to the public. One, the film received mediocre to terrible early reactions from test screenings. Even Peter Safran states that the film was unreleasable and would have damaged the DC brand. David Zaslav believed that the film was too expensive to release on streaming and would not make any profit back for the studio. But they also thought that the film looked too cheap and had too much negative reception to justify releasing in theaters. As a result, the film was used as a tax write-off to recoup some of the budget. However, as a result, it means that they can't legally release the film to the public unless it either leaks or is released for free on the internet. After the success of Man of Steel, many fans were eagerly awaiting a sequel. A follow-up would be announced within a year, but it was not the type of sequel fans would expect. Batman v Superman was of course a very surprising approach to a Man of Steel follow-up. However, when you think about it, the film served more as a setup for a Justice League sequel than a direct continuation of Man of Steel. Luckily, WB had already made it clear that they were working on a new Superman film. Originally, Snyder did intend to create a direct Man of Steel sequel with Brainiac as the main villain. However, he would later decide to do Batman v Superman instead. In 2017, Matthew Vaughn would be in talks to direct the project. Vaughn would never end up directing, but it was no fault of his own. You see, a year prior, Christopher McQuarrie and Henry Cavill also pitched a Man of Steel sequel to Warner Brothers, which would have tied into a Green Lantern film. However, the project would go nowhere due to a lack of interest from Warner Brothers.
Sir, I'm a multi-award winning filmmaker who's won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay.
Interesting.
I've directed renowned action films with insane set pieces and heart-pumping action.
Go on.
I'm one of the best possible candidates to direct a superhero action film.
Yes, I agree.
Let me direct Man of Steel 2.
Get the fuck out of my office.
The closest we've come to a Man of Steel 2 being made was from a couple of months ago, after The Rock managed to get Henry Cavill into Black Adam. There was a huge amount of optimism that we would finally get a Man of Steel sequel. Many articles would be released supposedly announcing that a sequel was in development, and writer Steven DeKnight actually began developing a new script, which would feature Brainiac as the main antagonist. Apparently, the film even had a producer on board the production. Unfortunately, this Man of Steel sequel would be cancelled once Henry Cavill was let go from the role. The sad truth is that Warner Brothers had little interest in making a Superman sequel to begin with, and every attempt to make one was just false optimism. Before the release of Kathy Yan's Birds of Prey, a sequel was already in development, with the working title Harley Quinn vs. Joker. The film would see Harley Quinn facing off against the Clown Prince of Crime, a narrative element that was set up in the Birds of Prey film. Sorry if I butcher these names. Glenn Ficarra and John Requa were hired to helm the project as writers, directors, and producers. The script for the film was set to be completed by September of 2018, and production would begin after either Birds of Prey or The Suicide Squad finished production. The film would be cancelled by February of 2019. However, despite this, Jared Leto's Joker could have possibly appeared in another film. In June of 2018, a Joker film primarily focusing on Jared Leto's take on the character was in active development. Jared Leto was unfortunately set to reprise his role as the Clown Prince of Crime, and was also reportedly producing the film as well, which just shows the immense interest he had in the project. It's likely that this film was being worked on as a response to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker film, which may have caused Leto to feel underappreciated in the role. However, in my opinion, this Joker film would have been amazing and would have been one of the greatest superhero films ever made, maybe even the greatest character study in history. Please, I said what you wanted me to say. Please let me go. This new film would serve as a way to bring spotlight back to his version of the character. However, this film would never enter production, as Jared Leto did not want to bring spotlight away from Joaquin Phoenix's version. In August of 2021, a Black Canary HBO Max film was announced, centering on the character from Birds of Prey, with Jurnee Smollett set to reprise her role. Not much is known about the plot, but we do know that writer Misha Green was set to write and direct the film. However, after the Discovery merger, this film would be cancelled. In March of 2021, a film based off the obscure DC character Hourman was announced. The film would be written by Gavin James and Niall Widener, but not much info ever came out about this project. However, we can assume that it was cancelled. The Trench was one of the most terrifying creatures within the Aquaman film, so it was surprising when in February of 2019, Warner Brothers would announce a new horror-themed spin-off focusing on these terrifying creatures. Months would go by without any news on the project. However, the film would be announced as cancelled eventually, likely due to COVID-19. According to James Wan, the film was actually a Black Manta film, and the name Trench was just a code name to cover what the film was truly about. This film would have likely directly tied to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Batman Beyond is one of DC's most popular characters, at least within the animated universe. Attempts have been made to create a live-action film in the past. However, the character has stayed exclusively rooted to animation and comics. However, there's a chance we could have had a Batman Beyond film that would unfortunately be cancelled once James Gunn and Peter Safran became the heads of DC Studios. Pitched by Christina Hudson, known for writing The Flash and Birds of Prey, this Batman Beyond flick would have seen the return of Michael Keaton's Batman as Bruce Wayne, and would have included Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman as well. Now, we don't actually know if Terry McGinnis was in this film, but there was rumors that Leslie Grace's Batgirl would have served as Batman's successor instead of Terry.
I can't wait to try and create that story down the line. Keep waiting, bitch.
Black Adam was released in 2022 to mediocre reviews and low box office returns. It seemed people did not enjoy what The Rock was cooking. Despite this, he would enter the kitchen again, and the sequel would be announced a couple weeks later.
That proves it then. They've all been poisoned by her food. The smell alone nearly killed me.
And based off the post-credit scene, we can assume that Superman would have played a major role in the film. However, James Gunn would cancel the film once he became in charge of DC Studios, as it did not align with his future plans. After James Gunn and Peter Safran were appointed the new leaders of DC on film, all DC films that were in development would be cancelled. An article that released shortly after this would reveal that a Crisis movie was one of the mini-films that was shelved. This would have likely been a film that would bring together DC heroes from many different universes to fight a huge threat. Plastic Man is one of the most comedic and light-hearted characters in the DC universe. Because of the character's more fun and comedic side, he would of course be perfect for his own film. In December of 2018, a Plastic Man film would enter development and would be written by Amanda Idoko. The film would receive little updates over the next 2 years. However, in December of 2020, a new writer, Kat Vasco, would be brought in to rewrite the script, and this rewrite would see Plastic Man being gender swapped. During DC fandom, a live-action Static Shock film would be announced, and Michael B. Jordan was attached as a producer. However, to no one's shock, the film would be cancelled. Zatana was another DC film that was announced, based off the popular DC character. But just like how magicians disappear, this film would vanish from the face of the earth due to its cancellation. After filming for Wonder Woman 1984 was complete, work on a Wonder Woman sequel had already begun. According to Patty Jenkins, the story was already complete and work would begin on the film once Wonder Woman 84 released. We actually know a few details about this Wonder Woman film. 1. It would have been set in modern day. 2. Linda Carter's character would return. And 3. It would set up even more Wonder Woman films. Unfortunately, this film would be cancelled once James Gunn and Peter Safran became leaders of DC Studios. New Gods was a film based off the New Gods of DC Comics. Despite how amazing the lore of these characters are, very few general audiences have heard of the New Gods. That's why in March of 2018, director Ava DuVernay attempted to bring the New Gods to the big screen. A supposed big fan of the material, Ava wanted to stay faithful to the world Jack Kirby created. With the help of Cario, Salem, and Tom King, Ava developed the story for New Gods for a couple of years. Not much is known about the story, but it would have included many iconic characters from the mythos, such as the female Furies, Granny Goodness, and Darkseid as the lead antagonists, with Mr. Miracle and Big Barda as the main leads. Unfortunately, the film would be cancelled in 2021. The reason? Well, Warner Brothers claims that it was because Darkseid appeared in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which makes zero sense.
I'm sorry, Ava. We are canceling your New Gods movie because Darkseid was in Justice League, and unfortunately, we can't have multiple of the same character in media.
In August of 2018, a Supergirl film was announced to be in development, written by Oren Ironzell. Not much is known about this Supergirl film, but it would have likely been set within the DCEU. It's safe to say that this Supergirl film has been shelved. Before the release of Wonder Woman 1984, Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns began work on a new spin-off film based off the Amazons. Jenkins would not direct this film, but would serve as a producer, and the story would directly tie into the third Wonder Woman movie. However, we can assume that the project fell apart after the failure of Wonder Woman 1984. 3 years after the release of Justice League, Snyder would pitch an Atom film to Warner Brothers, starring the character Ryan Choi, who appeared in Justice League. According to Snyder, he wanted the film to be set in China, with a full Chinese cast. Of course, the film would never leave the pitching stages, as Warner expressed little interest in the project. The Shazam films and Black Adam within the DCEU are completely separate, despite the two characters being intrinsically tied to each other in the source material. However, there's a chance the two could have battled in the first film. You see, originally, the first draft of the first Shazam film featured Black Adam as the primary antagonist, and the film would explore the origin story of both characters. However, The Rock would reject this version of the story, as he believed that Black Adam was being done a disservice, and it was better to explore the origin stories of the two characters in their own individual films. The Wonder Twins are one of the most obscure DC characters in existence, mostly known for appearing in a Super Friends episode. Ever since then, the characters have mostly been forgotten and remained a relic of abandoned DC characters. However, in February of 2022, a Wonder Twins film would enter development. The project actually got pretty deep into production, as not only was there a director attached, but the Wonder Twins had also been cast. Unfortunately, the film would be cancelled because the film was too niche. After the announcement of a Black Adam sequel, a Hawkman spin-off would also be announced, based off the version we saw in the film. However, we can assume that this film was cancelled alongside Black Adam 2.